Fuck it, I'm leaving it in there. Welcome to Mike's show. Presented by Cinescape Media. We're going to set the table with topics from all areas. The show is brought to you by the Cinescape Media Network. Be sure to visit cinescape.media for a complete listing of all the great podcasts and content we have available. My name is Mike Shea. Joining us at the table today, we've got Rowdy Tozzy Bill.
Woo!
All right. And then we got Sean Harrigan down on the bottom.
What up, y'all?
And Dex is Dex. He's dead.
Fuck Dex.
Fuck him. Sean,
feel better, Dex.
Before we get started, let's shout out to Crystal Marie Austin. Oh no, what's her new last name?
Cave, right? Cave.
Got married over the weekend.
Yeah, our very first guest.
She was our only guest.
Well, we don't have to tell anybody that.
Yeah, did you know her name is also the name after a historic and land site of caves here in Pennsylvania called Crystal Cave?
Really?
True.
Yeah, that is true.
Oh, that's great.
It's one of those, school trip weekend, leisure trips that most Pennsylvanians make. It's kind of customary over here.
Like a middle.
It's like it's the Man Bear Pig episode of South Park.
He's being super serial.
Come on, you guys.
You guys heard of Guzzlebutt? He's got one leg made of celery, and the other leg is Patrick Duffy.
Patrick Duffy. Great trivia question.
He's coming right for us.
Sean, NFL is back in the swing, kinda. How's Eagles Nest?
Well, the show itself, I gotta tell you, unbiased opinion, is top notch, fantastic, great show. Arguably the best show on the Cinescape Media Network. My content matter, however, in terms of the Philadelphia Eagles, not so good. 0-2 to start the year here. Really, really bad. Just all around. Every position group stinks. Bad team, bad coaching staff, bad organization. We're in trouble. We're in trouble here. It's going to be a long season.
I mean, you're talking to a guy from Bengals and Browns country, so.
Hey, we are playing the Bengals next week, actually.
Bengals ain't looking too bad with Joe Burrows.
Yeah,
Joe Burrow.
Tozzy, Rowdy Tozzy, how's it going, man?
Good, brother. How's it going over your way? I heard you just moved into some new digs.
I haven't moved yet, but I bought a house, closed on it on this past Friday. Slowly starting the moving. Thank you. Slowly starting the moving process. So by the time we do the next episode, I'll be in the new studio, and we'll be back up with Mixtape Radio again. Be looking forward to it. Feeling good.
How many rooms did you jerk off in already?
Oh, all of them. Are you kidding me? Every single one, even the linen closet. I took
accomplished.
Took the shelves out, went in, did my thing, put the shelves back in. Didn't want to leave any evidence. There is no corner of that new house that has not been sullied.
Yeah, and he did that during the open house when everybody else was in there too.
Oh yeah, no, I staked my.
He marked his territory.
Yeah, no, I wanted everyone to know right then and there how serious I was about buying that house. It would be fun.
It's like when you're when you rub, like you lick your finger and like rub it on somebody else's food so they don't want to eat it so you can have it. It's kind of the same thing there.
My germs.
Take my strong hand.
It's an interesting time for me right now. I work at a TV station, and it's the fall season change. So we've got new syndicated programming, new network programming. We just had the Emmys over the weekend, and so I thought it would be a good time. Like the transition I did there, I thought it would be a good time for us to, let's talk a little bit about TV. We got new shows starting, but there's always new shows starting, and 90% of them don't make it past that first season. Usually in the fall is when you got a lot of the networks just throwing crap at the wall and seeing what sticks. And so I thought it would be fun to talk about some shows, though, because every once in a while you get something good like a Firefly, which I'm sure we'll talk about at some point here tonight, that gets one season and you never see it again. So I thought we could bring up some shows that we've watched over the years that maybe got 1 or 2 seasons or just didn't get enough of a fair shot, that maybe deserved a better shot than what we got. I'll go ahead and let Bill start us off here with one of the ones off his list. Bill, give us a show that you enjoyed that just really deserved better than what it ended up with.
We were talking right before we jumped on here, and I didn't have it on the list at first, but I think Knight Rider. Just thinking back to a childhood show where it was 4 seasons, and the first like 2.5 were well, let's say this: the whole show is the same pretty much, but like it stopped evolving like in that 4th season where it was, they introduced like Kit, had this super pursuit mode where it was like then every episode was hinged upon them getting somewhere in like less than 10 minutes, and it was just, you lose the effect and stuff like that. But I thought, like, when you think about shows now and how they're very serialized in their storytelling as opposed to back then where things were just weekly adventures, I feel like that would have been a cool show to kind of have those one-off episodes where they character does something differently, or you just allow that creative free range. So that was a show that I wish would have gotten a little bit of extended period there.
Yeah, Knight Rider was one of those shows, and you're right. When it got to that last season, it just kind of became, we've got this ex machina super pursuit mode that now suddenly is like, okay, well, we never have to worry about being late getting somewhere, and then it became the crux of the show,
right?
To where they just, it's kind of, it kind of raised that question of like, like the Superman question, like when your hero is Superman, like what villain can you possibly have that can pose an actual threat when you've got Kit that can already do all these amazing things plus essentially go to warp, like.
And
what do you do?
And Mike, I know you're a Knight Rider fan, so I don't know if you recall, but like in the 4th season when they introduced that feature on the car, the first few episodes when they did it, they didn't have like the advanced braking system, right. So Kit just naturally had to like slow down from that, like that top speed, and then like I feel like all of a sudden it was kind of like discovered like a couple episodes later, like, hey, he goes really fast. Shouldn't we have something that makes him stop really fast? And then like they added those like flaps that like, jettison out and slows him down, and then are like, at a good enough speed to button up.
Yeah.
Little quirks like that.
It tried to incorporate that in the reboot too, because there was like one episode, it may have been like the pilot, where there's like this like radiation fire on in the car, and so Kit goes to like super pursuit mode thinking it'll like void the oxygen to put out the fire, and it almost kills not Michael Knight. And it kind of became evident like in that reboot, like, okay, so this is still just going to be something that they're going to try to incorporate as often as possible, and it took that step to where it was just a little too sci-fi,
right?
We saw that happen. It's where there's a level of disbelief, but then you can take it to where things are a little too far. Sean looks like he's having connection issues. Oh, there he is. Maybe, kinda. He looks frozen. While Sean plays around to try and figure out what he's doing here, I'm gonna take him out and put him back in. There he is. Yeah, there he is.
All right, I'm back.
Fuck it, we're live. All right, well, Sean,
do it live. Fuck it.
What's one you got? What's one you got on your list, Sean?
All right, so I have a show that only lasted 1 season that I can't remember what year at this point it came out, in the 2000s. Only lasted a year. Bill, you surely will recognize the guy, Bruce Greenwood, a great character actor. I mean, not the biggest star out there. Captain. What was he in Star Trek? Was he Captain Pike? Yeah. Right, yeah. And the new the JJ ones. But it starred Bruce Greenwood and a bunch of no names for the most part, from what I can remember. He played like a scientist. He's out studying different stuff in the Amazon jungle, and he goes missing. And I think his kids are tasked with going to find him and finding like video messages along the way. They're going up and down the Amazon River, and like just different like magical, mystical, weird shit happens to them along the way. And it was a really cool premise. Cool. Yeah, pretty much. We are the Beatles from Liverpool. Yeah, really, really cool premise though. And like I said, it only lasted one season. I want to say it was on ABC. Pretty cool show. I wouldn't mind maybe seeing a continuation of that or a reboot of it, actually, to add to the other part of the show that we'll be talking about later. But that's definitely one. I mean, if you can find it somewhere streaming, check it out and then get back to me on it. But pretty cool show.
I wrote down a whole bunch, and I know you guys probably have more too. But one that I always go back to that not a lot of people watched was a show called it got half of one season. It was called Flash Forward.
My wife brought that up earlier when I asked her.
Yeah, it came out in I think it was 2009. Yeah. And I didn't actually discover it until after the fact, and I found it online streaming somewhere. And it was a cool concept for a show, after things like Lost have existed, some of these high concept TV shows people were kind of more into. And the idea was basically something happens, some kind of weird phenomenon happens where everyone in the world simultaneously goes unconscious for 7 minutes, and they all see things in their future or something, and then everybody wakes up, and and terrible shit happens because this happens while people are flying airplanes, and so the airplanes crash and people die, or
deal with airplane food,
right? Some people, when they went to sleep and woke up, they didn't see anything because they were going to die soon, so there wasn't a future for them to see. And then other people suddenly started noticing the things in the future started actually happening and started messing with their sense of reality, and it created some really interesting drama. And then at the mid-season finale, when you're about to, or the end of the first season, when you're starting to actually find out kind of what happened, the first season ends on a huge cliffhanger, and then the show got canceled. So
everybody got AIDS and died.
Yeah, so we never found anything out. But there were some strong actors in this too. You have Joseph Fiennes, who's the brother of Ralph Fiennes from Harry Potter and James Bond. John Cho is in this. Dominic Monaghan was in this. Courtney B. Vance is in this. Good actors. A lot of cool talent in this. And it was just a really interesting idea. I really wanted to know what happened. I wanted to know what caused all this and what was going to happen next. And we never got that, but that's a show that I really wish would have just gotten a second season, just to at least know what happened, so then they could see what they would build forward from there. But
Mike, let me ask you: what year did this come out? Do you remember?
2009.
Was that around the time of the writer's strike? So, I mean, I remember a lot of shows kind of getting axed after that.
I want to say, because I think the writer's strike,
I can't remember what year that was.
The writer's strike happened during when Juno came out. So no, the writer's strike was 2006, 2007.
Okay. Because with all the shows that we're going to talk about on this kind of a list, I mean, it's why are these shows getting canceled? Is it? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons. I mean, is it simply a ratings thing? Is it whatever behind the scenes stuff, or they just didn't think it was going to carry on? I mean,
and Flash Forward was one of those ones, it had really good critical reviews, really high ratings. But even nowadays, we see this where network goes in waves, where networks will just start canceling shit we saw that happen a couple of years ago, where Fox canceled Brooklyn Nine-Nine, ABC canceled Last Man Standing. Now, granted, Fox canceled Lucifer. Now, a lot of these got picked back up thanks to streaming services and other network tie-ins. But, in 2009, we didn't have that. And you will see that every 2-3 years, where networks just go just wipe their slate clean. They got their lineup, and like I said, they throw a whole bunch of new shit at the wall and try to make some new stuff. That's probably just cheaper in the long run. So that may have been the case with this one. There's not a lot of information available about it, as far as nothing in here as far as drama behind the scenes or anything. But It was on ABC, and everybody knows that ABC always be canceling. So
That's right. It's like when Jerry had his pilot Jerry picked up by NBC, and then like the execs got switched out, and then came in and canceled it out from under
him. Bill, you got another one, man?
Yeah, let me look at the list here. I had one from HBO called Bored to Death. Have either of you ever watched
that one too? No. I didn't have that on my list.
Bored to Death?
Oh my god, fantastic show.
It's so irreverent. It combines the talent of Ted Danson, Zach Galifianakis, and
is it Jason Schwartzman?
It only lasted 3 seasons, but like the banter and the humor and like the antics that go on in that show, like it's on the same like neurotic level as like Larry David and Curb Your Enthusiasm, but with just a trio of people. And so like their lives intertwine and stuff like that because they're all friends and they come from different walks of life and they're all dealing with different shit. But
Jason Schwartzman's like a private eye, like wannabe, right?
Right. Yeah. It's a really good show.
Man, I totally forgot about that show. That's a great call.
It just sounds like a powerhouse lineup right there.
Oh, it's good. And I'm gonna stick in the same vein as Bill with the comedies of that time period, because when I started watching that show, I think I also started watching Party Down at the same time.
Oh, I forgot.
What was that on Stars? I want to say.
Yeah.
Another fantastic powerhouse cast. Ken Marino, Jane Lynch. There's Lizzie Kaplan's in it. Martin Starr. Adam Scott, and they all work at a catering business, and it's every episode is the whatever wedding or the whatever get together. That's what the episodes are, and it's just them like getting drunk and shit and like getting through these catered events and getting all weird. But really really strong comedic lineup there. I think it only lasted, I think I have it written down, it was only 2 seasons, so quick easy binge if you want to check that one out.
Yeah, another premium channel show, Sean. What's up with Vice Principals?
I have that on my list as well. They only did 3. I think they announced when the second season was coming out that was going to be the last one. Yeah, they only did those 2, and you know what? I actually never finished it. Now that I think about it. Because you get hung up like, oh my god, the show just got canceled. Like, what am I going to finish watching it for then?
Yeah. I have one on here. Stick again because we'll do the comedies right now. I'm a huge fan of this show, and I think that it got a little shortchanged with its final season, especially Mike and Molly. Man, Mike and Molly, the CBS sitcom with Billy Gardell and Melissa McCarthy. I was a huge fan of that. As far as I'm not a big fan of like the multicam sitcoms, usually like Big Bang Theory. I could kind of do without. Two Broke Girls I can't stand. 2.5 Men was good for the first couple of years.
See, that's for sitcoms for me. That's classic. I love the multicam sitcom style. That's what it should be.
I don't mind them. It's just I think they get a little repetitive. Like Big Bang Theory, I have a lot of problems with. But the thing I liked about Mike and Molly was just it. And this is coming from a weird place, but like as a big dude, like usually when you watch shows like this, like the big guys, the heavier set people, like they're the punchlines of the jokes, they're the cheap jokes. And to take a whole series that's built around the concept of like 2 people who are struggling with their weight, but just giving them regular fucking problems to deal with, like you would any other sitcom character. These are not the conventionally attractive people you would put in the star as the stars of a sitcom, and they just let the comedy speak for itself. And the writing on that show is hilarious. Billy Gardell's delivery in stand-up and in acting is some of the best you'll ever see. And you had people on this show who were had all been acting for a long time, so they had a maturity about them, and they took the show as seriously as you can in a sitcom. But it was one of those shows that like you could tell that like in the last season, they only had half a season for the final season, because Melissa McCarthy, she was too expensive to keep hiring at that point, because she was getting Oscar nominations and making huge movies. You know, she had done Bridesmaids and The Heat. Bridesmaids is so fucking funny, but Mike and Molly
Ghostbusters.
Well, Mike, I gotta say that's a great outlook on things, because when we think about, you know, the box office movies, and we think about some of these shows where certain audiences may, you know, call upon, you know, having, you know, more representation and stuff like that, you know, with you know, certain things that, you know, are relative to your situation. Like you just said, you identify with the characters because of, you know, you know, your own similarities in those situations. And I think that's where these studios don't just like listen sometimes and think like, hey, like, we don't have to do something cheap here, you know, and to your point too, I think the characters have to have some self-deprecation to them, so where they can take some of those moments, you know, in stride with a little humility, because that's human overall. But it just goes to show, like, you can have representation in media, and it can and it should reflect those everyday problems, because we're all just trying to be comfortable in our own skin, and we all just want to be able to have the understanding that everyone else, you know, whether if you're fat, you're thin, you're black, you're white, gay, straight, you know, whatever, it's that at the end of the day, we all have the same problems that we're trying to, you know, face, and we're trying to get through that uphill battle of life daily. And it's just having that, you know, that knowledge to know that everyone out there is trying to do the same thing, and it's no different across the board.
And that was something Mike and Molly did really well in general, was, you know, they had characters that were black, that were gay, that were of whatever, but that was the representation wasn't their defining characteristic.
It wasn't pandered to, you know?
Yeah, you see a lot of times where, like, they have a gay character on a show whose entire personality is just they're gay. There's
flamboyant, totally stereotypical.
No other depth to their character. You know, right. That's why shows like This Is Us are so successful, is because, yes, here's this gay couple, or yes, here's this interracial couple, but that's not all
that's not who they are.
That, yeah, there's more to them. And Mike and Molly was, yes, you had this heavy set couple, but the wife was a shopaholic and was struggling with financial debt, and it was struggling with her own career problems. You had the guy who had really serious, you know, issues with his mom and his dad, and had really serious issues with his job. You had real life issues being handled by these actors who, yes, they did have the occasion. Like there was an episode where Mike was dealing really hard with the weight loss thing. And he had a moment at the end of that episode that hit me right in the gut, because I related to it wholeheartedly, where he had lost like 10 pounds, and he was feeling really good, and he had like one cheat day and like seemed to just gain all the weight back, and it threw his confidence in the ringer. And he had this moment where he asks his wife, he's like, you know, when does it stop? When can I stop being paranoid about every little thing I put in my mouth? And as a guy who has struggled with weight loss my entire life, I felt that in my fucking core. And that was a show that just, I did not mean to make this the Mike and Molly hour, but that was a show that really meant a lot to me and a lot of other people, because again, there was that level of representation where it got to show that, like, a person who might be overweight is still just a person and still goes through the same relationship issues and the same life issues as anyone else. Let's move off of this though.
Hold on, I want to piggyback off of that concept with the representation, and I don't think any other show in history demonstrated that more than Dinosaurs.
You know, you're not wrong,
because that's everyday human life just with dinosaurs. So it doesn't matter what color that dinosaur was, or what that dinosaur did for a job, or anything else. It was about, you know, human everyday life and problems and issues and familial matters and things like that. But they're just dinosaurs, not the mama. You know what I mean? The Sinclair family. Great show. Should have lasted a lot longer. Bring that one back. Give me dinosaurs back right now.
There was a long time my mom, all she wanted for Christmas every year was the Dinosaurs box set on DVD. It took me 5 years to finally get one for her. Because I
had all the action figures of them.
Did you really?
Oh yeah.
I had the action figure of the baby. You'd press the button on his back, and he'd whack with the frying pan.
Not the mama. Not the mama.
I love that shit. Have you seen the video online where somebody took his boss and all these quotes that he had that like lined up with shit like Donald Trump has said?
That dude was scary looking too.
Pretty spectacular.
I can't even call him a triceratops because he had like a million horns up there.
Yeah. But like that show dealt with like sexual harassment. Like that show dealt with everything. It was crazy. It was way ahead of its time. And also just really, really fucking funny.
Yeah, I think that ran from 91 to 94.
It wasn't long. It was only like, it was only
3 or 4 seasons.
Yeah. All right, Sean, you got another one, man?
Yeah. We'll stick with the comedy theme here. I have another one that was on Fox more semi recently, The Mick with Caitlin Olsen from Always Sunny. Yeah. That was a good show. Really like that. The wife and I watched that one.
I like Caitlin Olsen. I mean, she cracks.
Yeah, I mean, she's D to a T.
Yeah.
She's the same exact character as in Always Sunny, but
I mean,
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, for AP Bio too with Glenn Howerton, I mean, he's Dennis. They're kind of typecast in the roles that they're going to be getting, just because their personalities exude so much through the characters that they're playing. Like they're just playing themselves in a sense. I mean, you see Charlie in different movies, and yeah, he's trying different things. Yeah. Maybe not all that great, but I mean, yeah. Whether it's Caitlin Olsen or whoever's doing the other shows, they're the same characters, and that's honestly what I want. Really, we were a little upset that one got nixed because it was a good one. I think that only lasted 2 seasons as well, maybe 3 at most. But that was a good one. Fox, good job.
Juice, that was a good one.
You got what else you got, Bill? You got another one?
Yes, sir. I had on the list pretty much all Marvel Netflix shows.
Yeah.
So I know we scratched the surface prior to the call, but looking back at a time when Marvel was still out there with the rights a little bit, Netflix was able to scoop up the Defenders and start putting together some shows years back. And we got a couple great seasons from showrunners such as Daredevil, The Punisher. We also got Iron Fist. We also had Jessica Jones, and then the short-lived Defender series as well. And I feel like
Luke Cage,
huh?
Luke Cage too.
Yeah,
Luke Cage. Yep. Sorry. And so, each one of those shows was a great deviation from the MCU in terms of storyline, character arcs, overall tone and things like that. Obviously the MCU known for just its mega storyline overall, but Netflix got a chance to do something with some smaller characters and really do their own thing. And meanwhile, it did take maybe 1 or 2 seasons for some of the shows to get a footing and really find their writing groove and their groove overall. But I feel like in retrospect it was a nice nice breakaway from what the movie norm was. And I think we were right there with with some of the shows like Daredevil and Punisher. Even Luke Cage, I feel like, was starting to come into its own a little bit. And
that show ended on a big cliffhanger.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of those. I remember exactly where I was when the first season of Daredevil dropped. I was at a film festival in South Carolina, and it was dropping that weekend. The film festival at my alma mater, where Craig Titley, who was a guy who was an EP for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., would come every year. And he was talking. I did. Craig was an EP for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and he was old friends with my professor. He'd come to the film festival every year, and he was talking. at his Q&A, like, yeah, Daredevil's dropping, like in like 12 hours, and we don't know if people are going to like it or not. I remember like Netflix crashed because people loved it. Everybody was jumping on to watch that first season of Daredevil, and I mean, to me, of the three, well, not the three, but of all of them, I definitely think Daredevil was the strongest. Right now, it's one of those things where, like, yeah, they got canceled on Netflix, but no one's really sure what their future is because, Disney has said they're going to keep like the more adult stuff off of Disney Plus, but they also own Hulu, so maybe they'll show up on Hulu at some point. I definitely think of all of them that Daredevil and Punisher need to continue on the most. I think all 3 seasons of Daredevil are spot on, and season 1 of Punisher was amazing. Season 2 was good. I think season 1 was better, but season 2 was still fantastic. Luke Cage was a little up and down. Jessica Jones was a little up and down. Everyone knows Iron Fist was kind of definitely the weakest of all of them.
Bill loves Iron Fist and his what, Bill? What do you love about Iron Fist's physical appearance?
His unexpressive eyebrows. they stay fixed in one place, and like every time that he's in a scene where he's got to evoke emotion, it just doesn't read because he can't move his eyebrows in an expressive manner. So, he could say the most heartfelt thing or the most gut-wrenching thing or, even the most action-packed line, and it's never what's intended because his face doesn't match up.
He's one of those guys who I think it was just bad casting.
Yeah.
I think it was really poor casting because when you put it side by side with Daredevil, you got Charlie Cox playing Daredevil, who's essentially a street thug, who's doing these single take 11-minute action sequences where he's on camera physically kicking the shit out of everybody in sight. Cut to Iron Fist, which is the martial arts master, and it's evident that the guy spent no time in fight training because the fight sequences are so heavily edited and close up you can't ever see anything. Not to mention that every line of dialogue is, "Hi, how you doing? I'm Danny. I'm the immortal Iron Fist." Why do you keep telling people that?
Well, also too, like it would have been like he's not a very like flashy character either. Like, and they didn't do anything in the first season to amplify that, and I feel like they missed the mark. Like I feel like they spent too much of the first season on his like fucking mushroom trip spiritual journey of a time. It's like he went out to Joshua Tree for the weekend, got lost, and then that was like 6 episodes right there. I think it would have
loon.
I think it would have been more visually productive to kind of show him with his powers pretty early on and just be kind of raw and unformed and stuff like that because like I said, I mean he was just not a flashy character, and like at least maybe to see his power a little bit more demonstrated, whether it was harnessed or not, I think that would have maybe at least like kept you entertained as you're keeping up. Like, okay, he's got the powers, he's trying to figure it out. It took so long to move into that, like, what happened? You just disappeared in the Himalayas. Like, it was just like, it was like the Bruce Wayne story, but it got dragged out for like 4 hours instead of like, just a quick 60-minute episode.
It's like Batman Begins if the first 30 minutes were the entire movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Much better put.
In a show called Iron Fist, he doesn't actually use the Iron Fist until episode 4, and even then, he only uses it once per episode for like 30 seconds at tops. It's like,
right, and he doesn't even glow half the time. It's just like his fist lights up like it's a sparkler or some shit.
He held a flashlight under his hand, and the light was seeping through the skin, so his hand looked a little glowy. Like I was kind of hoping that because Luke Cage was for both seasons, like the first half was really good, and then the second half was like,
well, when you kill off your main villain in the beginning of the season, I guess that's what
and with Luke Cage too, like they kind of went that route that I'm explaining with Iron Fist of like, here's his powers, he's trying to figure out using them, and he's trying to learn the right and wrong behavior associated with that. Whereas once again, it was like Iron Fist is wandering the head shops and he's buying weed, and he bought some new hemp sandals.
I wound up with Iron Fist. One of the things that bugged me was Iron Fist himself has no arc from episode 1 to episode 13. No arc. He's just there to exist and be Iron Fist. They spent way more time on the villains and side characters than they did with him, and
they were good.
And it was way more interesting.
I know they talked about doing a Daughters of the Dragon spinoff.
I would have loved that.
That would have been cool.
And honestly, I thought they should have just taken Luke Cage, Iron Fist, and just made a Heroes for Hire series.
Yeah, the coolest part of the Iron Fist character, came in Defenders, and Defenders wasn't really all that great. But with the stuff that you did get with their, the first time that they're fighting together, that's the coolest part of the entire character.
The best part,
I'd love to see more of that.
Yeah, the best part of Defenders was definitely the chemistry between the Defenders.
Yeah,
go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that's the thing. Like with these shows and the Marvel movies, like that's where some of these B-level characters. That's where they operate more efficiently. Is like in that tag team space, where you don't have to leave it up to one character to lead the whole movie, or to have the story hinged upon one character or something like that. Like some of these team up movies, it's just like give me that like. Lethal Weapon formula where it's just, a nice little tandem, it's kind of, like a buddy cop kind of thing. And, you saw that with Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is getting a show.
Thank God.
But that's where some of those characters just really thrive is in that buddy system.
Even in Daredevil season 2, my favorite episode is the one where it's just Punisher and Daredevil on the roof.
Oh my God, that's arguably the best episode of the season.
First of all, the fact that over 3 seasons Daredevil didn't win a single fucking Emmy for any of the acting and writing is beyond me. I think D'Onofrio should have won a supporting actor award of some kind for playing Kingpin.
And I'm not a D'Onofrio fan either, but he was fantastic.
I love Vincent D'Onofrio. But that, like, I swear, I was telling people up and down, like, John Bernthal should have won an Oscar for playing, or not an Oscar, an Emmy for playing the Punisher, either in that episode of Daredevil or the 1-2 episodes later where he saves him from being tortured and he has that breakdown in the graveyard. There was John Bernthal, and throughout all of the Punishers, John Bernthal outacted the crap out of everybody in the Marvel Netflix stuff time and time again. And kind of cycling back to what we've been talking about here, which is like, I really hope that Disney's able to find a new home for these shows on Hulu or on Disney Plus, because I know they're churning out new Marvel stuff for Disney Plus. Because like they just announced She-Hulk. I know Moon Knight's getting a series, which I can't wait for. I hope they're able to find a new home for these Netflix Marvel shows, because you had a great cast of characters.
I don't see it happening, Mike.
Every month I seem to grow less and less optimistic, but
because I know they had. Go ahead, Bill.
Yeah, that's what I was just going to say, is that what Disney does is like by longering the process, you just keep getting disinterested over the product to the point where you forget about it, and so much time passes that these actors move on to other projects, they get older, and just the natural way of things. And with that said, these shows started off at a time where the MCU was already rolling and things like that. This wasn't going to take away too much from what they were doing, but now that Disney's carved out that streaming space for expanded storylines, these just don't fit into the puzzle at this point.
Yeah, and I know they said there are a lot of
the way the cookie crumbles.
Yeah, it is. I'll say just a couple more I had on my list. I'm not going to go talk a whole lot about them. I do want to move on to our other topic, but The Exorcist was a little 2-season show they had on Fox. It was an anthology. Each season was a different set of stories, but they were really, really, they were scary as shit. They were really made to capture some of that original fear like they did in the original Exorcist movie. And then some of the other comic book ones, I think Swamp Thing got screwed as with the DC Universe stuff. I know it was a budgetary issue, but I just finished season 1 of Swamp Thing, and it is some fantastic gory horror goodness, produced by James Wan. I know Constantine ended up living on in the CW Arrowverse, but he got shafted with the first season of his show. And then The Newsroom, the Jeff Daniels HBO series, The Newsroom was really good stuff, and I really wish they had kept going with that show. You guys got any others you wanted to mention?
Yeah, I got some other notables. Banshee was on Cinemax. If you're a fan of The Boys on Prime, Anthony Starr plays Homelander, stars in Banshee. Fantastic show. Go watch it. It was only 4 seasons. I had Hannibal on there as well. I think that was on NBC. Hannibal was fantastic. I'm a big fan of Thomas Harris's novels, the Hannibal Lecter novels. We really dug that show, the wife and I, and then they just axed it for really no reason. I know there was a lot of talk about other streaming services and things, people wanting them to pick it up, but it still hasn't happened yet. Chappelle's Show 3 seasons. Do you realize that? And the friggin' last one was the Lost Tapes anyway. Only 3 seasons. It's insane. And then Bill, I got Eastbound and Down on there. It was only 4 seasons, but they're like 6 episodes a season.
And every episode is gold.
Oh, goddamn right.
Bill, what else you got, man? Any other?
I had Nip Tuck on my reserve list. That was a show I was really into. Even though it went downhill, I think it still probably could have done with an extra season or 2. The little 14-year-old girl in me also had Scream Queens on the list. I mean, it's just fucking campy slasher stupid.
I was never a fan, but that's fine.
Yeah, it was kind of like the watered down version of American Horror Story, where it's just like, if you don't want to have to follow like a week to week thing, you just want to see people get like slashed. It was a pretty fun show.
Yeah.
I had Designated Survivor from Netflix. I really enjoyed that show because it really ran through like politics and like just the day-to-day stuff pretty well, but it was dramatized at the same time. That only lasted 3 seasons on Netflix. A 4th season was hopeful to be in the works about a year ago when Netflix bought it from ABC, but it doesn't look like they're going to be bringing that.
I watched that when it was on ABC, and I kind of just remember thinking to myself, like, this show can't last very long. Like, sooner or later, you kind of outlive the concept, I think.
Right, and the first 2 seasons are really good. Like, it's some really good drama week to week, episode to episode like that. The 3rd season is where it just gets like, you could just tell, like, obviously they had a bigger budget, which meant like bigger storylines, and then it kind of became, a little bit of a farce, where it's just kind of like, okay, like,
it kind of turned into House of Cards.
Yeah, where like the drama every week was just like anteed up, and like it's like, all right, like what can we do to make politics and the day-to-day life more interesting? And it was just like, oh, well, let's add more scandal and more treachery and more espionage. And it's like, okay, like, but the fun part about the show as is was that, it wasn't traditional. It was a little bit more cerebral,
Yeah.
But I had that. And then lastly, it wouldn't be me on a show if I didn't bring up Star Trek. And I think it's just fascinating that you had a show that aired back in '66. It lasted 3 years, went on a 13-year hiatus until the first movie was then released, and then another 21 years from when the next consecutive series picked up. And then the fact that it's lasted over 50 years in terms of reboots and other media, it's just crazy how that show keeps reinventing itself and staying relative, despite my personal opinions about some of the newer content.
Right on. Well, one thing that's also going on a lot right now is we're seeing a lot of shows get remade and rebooted. We mentioned the Knight Rider reboot a couple times, but we've seen things like where Roseanne got brought back and now it's continuing on as the Connors, which still to this day, I look forward to the Connors every week. It's so freaking funny because
there's a RoboCop reboot coming.
Yeah, apparently.
It has nothing to do with RoboCop.
But we've also seen like game shows getting a lot of reboots, especially on like ABC. They brought back Press Your Luck and the Match Game. They're bringing back Supermarket Sweep. I wanted to ask you guys: are there any old shows, whether they were short-lived or not, is immaterial? But if you want to reboot or take another shot at a show, what's one that you guys would like to see? Sean, we'll start with you.
Sequest. I want Sequest back. That was a great show. Roy Scheider, Jonathan Brandis, and that fucking dolphin, psychic dolphin. I mean, with the technology that we have these days, I mean, Aquaman looked okay. You can do something really cool CG with some underwater worlds and shit like that. Give me some more Sequest DSV. I had the Sega game, by the way. It sucked.
Did you really?
Yeah, all about Sequest.
Oh. Bill, what you got, man?
I hate to pick childhood shows because it's you're just going to be setting yourself up for disappointment when it does get remade. If I had to go with something to be remade, trying to think back, I feel caught off guard because I don't know if I missed this question on the.
I should say Sequest.
I would say MacGyver, but that was already done and it was terrible. I would say Knight Rider, but that was already done and terrible.
But there's a lot of the children's shows that have
Baywatch Nights, and that was terrible.
Jeez.
The
movie was.
How about for cartoons? How about Gargoyles?
I could get into that. I could get into that.
More Gargoyles.
When I got Disney Plus, it was one of those things I was scrolling through the stuff they had, and I was like, "Oh, that's right! I can rewatch Gargoyles."
Damn right, and I had those action figures too.
See what I would like to see more instead of reboots would be high res, upscans of old shows. Taken to that, restoration of Blu-ray quality, widescreen, 16:9 format. For example, Star Trek Deep Space Nine again.
If I had $1 for every time that Bill mentioned Star Trek over the last 20 years that I've known him.
Well, look, Sean, I'm slowly assimilating you. So,
you fucking Borg cube asshole.
But that show in the last 2 seasons, and Mike could attest to this too, has some of the best space battles that that even blow away the movies and stuff. And there have been upscale digital restorations and stuff like that of the footage, and it looks fucking fantastic. And it's just man, if that could be done, the only reason why it's not being done is because those film reels basically sit in a vault that aren't even organized and stuff like that. And, some reels don't even have the full episodes and things like that. So obviously it would be very time consuming, but,
I was gonna say on topic with that is there was a documentary that came out a couple of years ago.
What We Left Behind.
Yeah, and they talk about that in the documentary because they were trying to get some of the footage for the documentary, and it's really hard to get.
Right, and in that documentary, they utilized some of that footage, and they did do the restoration work, specifically for that movie. But I mean, part of that is that they have incomplete reels of film. It's not organized. It's sitting in shelves and scattered pieces, basically.
Yeah.
So I mean, you need to get a crew in there to obviously,
it's time consuming
footage and stuff like that, and then go from there. So it's a daunting undertaking, but I mean, with technology, they're doing stuff with just screen grabs. So you don't even necessarily need the originals in most cases. But it's just something like that. Like I think a lot of shows, like I would like to see, HD reconstructions of some stuff. Just it just would look better experience.
I'll tell you what, I think right now, especially with the world being what it is, I think if they're gonna take another shot at a show, it should be something that's simple, that's timeless, and frankly that's affordable to make. Like something you could shoot the whole thing, every episode on one set that you can build and shoot on. Something where the original concept of the show can easily be updated, and where the original cast, with the exception of maybe one of them, isn't really up to a whole lot right now. And I'm talking about Cheers.
Well, they just closed the one bar down in Boston.
They did, yeah. But you could easily, because that whole show only ever took place on one set. It was one set every episode. The front room, the back room, and the office were all part of one set. With the exception of Woody Harrelson, who's out like getting nominated for Oscars and shit, nobody else on that cast is really doing a whole lot right now. Ted Danson just ended The Good Place, and he's kind of back being popular again. And I think you could easily take that show and have the new season or the new version of it be him reopening the bar. And one of the jokes with that show was always just how out of touch Sam always was. You can easily carry that over into modern times. You can have Kelsey Grammer show up and Shelley Long and Kirstie Alley. None of them are doing a whole lot right now. They're showing up in supporting roles in other people's shit. You could easily bring that back and still tackle stuff the way it did, where they dealt with like Sam's alcoholism, him and the spats between him and Shelley Long's character. And Cheers is one of those shows that launched so many careers. I mean, we got Frasier as a spinoff, and look how long Frasier went on for. And Kirstie Alley, jumped off of that show. Look what it did for Shelley Long. I mean, Woody Harrelson, that was his first big thing. I guarantee you could easily get him back for a cameo or something. I think it'd be a great show to bring back, take another stab at, maybe use it as a way to launch some new careers or further some careers that have started but need a little bit of an extra push. And also, it'd be easy to make.
Then if you can't get all those characters back, here's the excuse. Because this takes place during COVID and the bar was only allowed 50% capacity, so they couldn't have all the patrons in there.
Fuck it. Sure. I'm into it. It's so, it's like Steve Byrne tried to do like a variation, like his own version of Cheers for TBS like 10 years ago, but he deviated a little bit, and he stopped making it about the regular customers at this bar. It was about all this like comedy drama. So like, no, what Cheers did was simple and it was effective, and you can still go back and rewatch Cheers on Netflix right now, and it still holds up. Yes, every once in a while when you see somebody with like that brick-sized TV remote, it feels a little dated, but other than that, it feels timeless, because the conversations and discussions and just the situations these characters got into, the same shit happens today.
Right on.
I
have a couple. Now I kind of split mine for just like legit reboots and then kind of like reboot / continuations.
Okay.
So for like legit reboots, I think a cool one would be Sliders. Remember Sliders?
Oh yeah.
That was a good. What was that on Fox? Like Fox Friday nights, something like that.
What was his name? The guy who played Gimli was in that. John Rhys Davies.
And which one of the O'Connells? Was it Jerry O'Connell? Was that one?
Jerry.
And then I think another cool one will be The Wonder Years, like a modern version of The Wonder Years. You can get somebody prominent to narrate it.
I could get into that.
That'd be awesome.
I feel like Sliders always came on like Saturday night in between,
or maybe Saturday. I think it was on Fox though, wasn't it?
Between like Mad TV and VIP. Remember that show?
I remember
Valerie Irons Protection.
That only lasted 4 seasons.
Oh man, Sliders was a UPN show.
Dude,
was it?
Okay. VIP was
sci-fi. It was sci-fi.
Really?
Yeah, it was Fox produced, but it aired on Sci-Fi.
How about that? I also have for my continuations. I'd like to see a continuation of Step by Step. See what all the Lambert and all that crew's up to. See if Cody's still living out in the van behind the house. I think one that's absolutely, I'm going to save this one. Give me another continuation for Third Rock from the Sun. Give me that. Give me continuation of Family Matters. I think probably the best one that is ever going to be redone would have to be Married with Children, because especially with today's climate and how PC everybody has to be these days, when you get fucking Al Bundy back on that couch, like just scratching his balls in front of America again, I think it's going to let everybody know that it's, we're going to get back to a better time here, folks. So, I mean, you don't score that many touchdowns for Polk High championship game, without being really talented. So we need Al Bundy back. And then my favorite one that I have on this list, and this will be a continuation. You need to somehow continue the Cosby Show, and I'm not even going to tell you how to do it. Just use your imagination.
You see, what you want to do is you get a couple of people with the pudding pops, and they come in, and then they start to feel a little bit lightheaded in the head, and then they fall down.
When you're mixing up the Jell-O pudding, you got to put the Benadryl in there first. Mix it up, real good.
I don't know.
He's in jail. He's in jail close to where me and Bill live.
Yeah, he's in Norristown.
We can go visit him. I was there. I had to go to traffic court while he was on trial down there. I was walking in the courthouse. The entire block was filled with news cameras and shit. The trial going on while I was down there. So hopefully Bill's doing okay, I guess, in there. He's old. I know he's like pretty much blind at this point too. He's having a rough go of it, but I guess he deserves it.
That's right.
Yeah, you take that much quinine. Yeah, you take that much quinine, you're gonna lose your vision.
I had all my money on Cheers, so I don't have any others. I love Cheers. Bring back Cheers. And also, I really hope the Orville continues on. I hope the Orville isn't. Pick. I know they were going to Hulu and they were going to start production on a new season, and COVID hit. I hope they get to keep going. I just rewatched the first 2 seasons.
Yeah, man.
And the Orville is some of the best Star Trek I've seen in a while.
It's funny you brought that up, because I was literally thinking that when you said I got nothing else, and then I was thinking about shows, and I was like thinking about Star Trek again, and how the current shows are just they're too generic. They cater to certain
sci-fi. You could call them anything. You could take the name Star Trek off of it, and it wouldn't make a difference.
Right, and that's what JJ did. It was just kind of like, hey, we could just slap this on anything and just get some people in here. Yeah. But the Orville is real Trek, and it's that adventure. It has a little bit more comedy than the a typical Star Trek series, but the adventure and all the even the techno babble is everything is just done whether if it's in memoriam or in honor, it's done very tastefully. So
because McFarlane's such a huge Trek fan, he had a couple of cameos as just like a random nameless engineer on Enterprise. Obviously there's the Family Guy episode where he gets the whole TNG cast together, which was great, having them all voice themselves. And you can tell that the show is done as a satire of Star Trek, but with a lot of love. And you can tell that he really puts a lot into it, because he doesn't saturate it. Because when the show first was coming out, I remember because I work at a Fox station, all the ads were pushing it like it was going to be Family Guy in space.
Right.
And that's not what it is. It's TNG with a little more sass.
Yeah.
Where people they speak far. You go back and watch episodes of TNG and DS9, they don't exactly talk like how people talk. Which is not a problem. The Orville is very conversational. It's a little bit more loose, and they have fun with it. But even the stuff that's goofy, like the fact that Bortus only pees once a year, they're like, yeah, we have to go watch him pee, and they're just kind of like, what if there's a strong breeze and it blows back on me? And they're like, you will be blessed with good luck for the next year. It's like dumb shit like that. But or like when they find the time capsule from the 21st century and they rediscover cigarettes, and so they get like addicted to them, and little funny shit like that. But yeah, that show, I really hope that once COVID's over, they get to make that third season.
I think they're halfway through or just about done filming. I think they got some good amount of stuff in there. Last time I read an article, so yeah, we just got to keep our fingers crossed and our eyes peeled. Sean, that's definitely one that Mike and I would definitely recommend to you. Just to check out. You don't have to be any kind of sort of fandom. It's good science fiction and good comedy. It's well balanced. So
yeah, I think it takes itself just seriously enough.
Yes. Yeah.
There's definite moments, like there's a whole 2-part episode, with this like alien invasion and these artificial life forms that goes really serious, but they still pepper the occasional joke in there where
that's the thing I liked, was that the humor never went on longer than it needed to, and it always stayed within that moment, typically just enough to just add a little bit of that touch to it. But that's where that balance maintains, and it's the perfect show to put on to fall asleep to, because you don't need to know anything going in. You're not gonna, this episode isn't going to hinge upon the next one that it plays into, really. So it's just something great to just put on, and just, you'll tune in, you'll listen to some laughs, you find something funny, or, it's good.
It is good. And you know what else was good? This episode was good. This was a fun show. This was a good time.
I had a good time.
Dex should hate himself for not being a part of this.
Yeah, what an idiot.
So we shall
he will know shame.
Shame. Bill, where can the people at home find you online if they so desire?
I am on Tinder.
Oklahoma City.
Yeah, I'm on AshleyMadison.com. I'm on Lowered Expectations website. Ooh. Lowered Expectations. No, but you can find me on the Cinescape Media Network. Still waiting for that call for the mixtape radio show. Hope to be on that soon.
At this point,
but you take your time. You've
become my Matt Damon to my Jimmy Kimmel, where it's like at the end of every episode, apologies to Bill Tozzi, we ran out of time, couldn't get you on the show. Sean, if the people want to find you on Grindr, what username are you using?
Chunky Muffin 47.
that hesitation was whether to actually give out his real Grindr handle.
Should I give the real one or a burner?
Sean's Gonad 6969.
Beard and Wonder. Now you can find me on all social media platforms at the Eagles Nest, IGGLES. If you're an Eagles fan, if you're not, listen to the new show. If nothing else, watching me be angry and upset is worth the time. Whether you're a football fan, an Eagles fan, and it doesn't matter. I just get angry. I started doing a thing each week where I find something specific to just give a couple minutes to bitch about. So the first week was the fake crowd noise, how they're just pumping it in, and I really hate it. And then this past week was the lack of allowance of tailgating. So if you want to hear my thoughts on that, go check out the Eagles Nest podcast, available on all podcast platforms and YouTube. So go check that out.
And you can find me on social media, all of it at Mike of All Shays. You can also check out Mixtape Radio with new episodes starting back in October from the new studio, which will be open by the time we do the next one of these. And of course, if you want to know more about what's going on at Cinescape Media, just go over to cinescape.media. Boom, screen share, baby, for those of you watching the video version.
Hell yes.
And check out everything we got going on over at the website there, all the podcasts, the blogs, all that good stuff. You can check that out over there. And until next time, this has been Mike's of the Round Table, and we will talk to you guys later.